The world watches, breathless and heavy-hearted. The conflict between Israel and Hamas has spiraled, leaving a trail of devastation and despair. Families on both sides grieve unbearable losses. Fear hangs heavy in the air, a suffocating blanket of uncertainty. Amidst the chaos, Vice President Kamala Harris stepped onto the world stage. Her mission? A call for peace, a desperate plea for humanity? The stakes couldn't be higher. The world holds its breath, hoping against hope for a glimmer of light in the darkness. The path to peace is fraught with obstacles, paved with the weight of history and the raw wounds of the present. But in the face of unimaginable suffering, even the smallest flicker of hope can ignite a powerful flame. The world held its breath as Vice President Kamala Harris met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The atmosphere? Palpable tension. The weight of the conflict hung heavy in the air. Harris didn't mince words. She delivered a clear message: the need for an immediate ceasefire. The images coming out of Gaza, the mounting civilian casualties, were simply unacceptable. Netanyahu, facing intense pressure from all sides, listened intently. The meeting, a delicate dance of diplomacy, was a critical moment in this latest chapter of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The world watched, hoping for a breakthrough. Could these two leaders find common ground amidst the rubble and despair? The future, it seemed, hung precariously in the balance. Vice President Harris's words echoed through the halls of power. Her message was clear: the violence must stop, the bloodshed must end. The time for peace, however elusive, was now. Her voice, firm yet compassionate, spoke directly to the suffering of the Palestinian people. She acknowledged their pain, their fear, their desperate need for a life free from violence. We must find a way forward, she urged, a path to peace that honors the humanity of all people. Her words, a beacon of hope in the darkness, resonated with those yearning for an end to the conflict. The path to peace, she acknowledged, would be arduous and painful. But the alternative, a descent into further chaos and bloodshed, was simply unthinkable. Section 4. Voices of Dissent, Cries for Justice. As Netanyahu's visit unfolded, a different kind of scene played out on the streets. Protests erupted, a chorus of voices rising in anger and frustration. They carried signs, their faces etched with grief and outrage. These were the families of American hostages, their voices raw with anguish. Their loved ones, caught in the crossfire, were missing, their fates unknown. They demanded answers, accountability, and most importantly, the safe return of their families. Their cries were impossible to ignore. The human cost of this conflict, the shattered lives and broken families, were on full display. Their pleas for help, for justice, added another layer of urgency to the already volatile situation. The protests served as a stark reminder: behind the political maneuvering and diplomatic negotiations, real lives were at stake. Section 5. Gaza's Bleeding Heart, a Grim Tally. The statistics painted a grim picture. The Gaza Ministry of Health released a chilling report: over 2,000 casualties, a staggering number of them innocent civilians. Hospitals, overwhelmed and under-resourced, struggled to cope with the influx of wounded. The images coming out of Gaza were nothing short of horrifying. Children, their innocence stolen by war, lay bandaged and broken. The numbers, cold and impersonal, couldn't fully capture the immense suffering. Behind each digit was a human life, a story cut short, a family torn apart. The world reeled at the sheer scale of the devastation. The human cost of this conflict was becoming increasingly impossible to ignore. Section 6. Condemnation, Unity, and Hope. A Long Road Ahead. In her closing statements, Vice President Harris's voice rang out with conviction. She condemned the terrorist attacks, offering condolences to the families of the victims. Terrorism, she emphasized, had no place in a civilized world, but her message extended beyond condemnation. She called for unity, for both sides to come together and reject the cycle of violence that had plagued the region for far too long. We must choose hope over hatred, she urged, dialogue over destruction. Her words, a powerful call to action, offered a glimmer of hope in a seemingly hopeless situation. The road ahead, she acknowledged, would be long and arduous. But the pursuit of peace, however difficult, was the only path forward. The world, she reminded everyone, was watching, hoping, praying for a brighter future.